Um, he said that he's considering being a member of our church, but today he's kind of emotional, so he's gonna tell you a little story about what he's just gone through. We've been working together now, a couple months?
3 weeks, 4 weeks.
3 weeks? Seems like a lot longer. Yeah, you're right. So we've been working together, and it's really been a blessing to meet him and his family. And I'm going to let Brian take over.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Brian. For those that don't know me, and that's the majority of you, I have severe social anxiety, so this is very hard for me. But I feel a calling to do this. I'm going to give my testimony, my most recent testimony. Last Sunday, I had a kidney transplant. And the story leading up to that, I think, is very powerful. I feel that there is somebody in this room that needs to hear this story. I don't know why. It's not for me to know. I'm hoping it's my son Matthew. Let me start at the beginning. I'll try and keep it short. I know you want to go to your Easter lunch, but it might take 10-15 minutes. I was baptized fairly late in life. It was actually back about 17 years ago. Matthew's 16. We joined a local church after the passing of my brother-in-law. I read a book, The Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren, and that led me to Christ and ultimately my submersive baptism. Thank you. Things were going well. Matthew was born a year later. We named him Matthew, Son of God, because he was literally from the Son of God in our relationship. And then the church imploded. I was doing my degree at Liberty University at the time, which is very Bible-centric. So I was walking in the light at that time. The problem came when I graduated from Liberty and I had no church, and I started to wander into the desert, and I started to question, and I started going towards the dark. I'll fast forward to 4 weeks ago. I was in a crisis of faith for literally 5 to 10 years. And that was still the case 4 weeks ago. I was getting to the point where I was almost getting to the point of disbelief. I wasn't there, my faith was still there by string, but it was getting very sketchy. 4 weeks ago was our wedding anniversary. My wife, Jody, stand up Jody, amazing woman. We've been married 25 years. The last 3 years have been a tremendous burden upon her. I'm sorry, I'm going to cry through this. Thank you for everything you've done. She's been there for every doctor's appointment. I've got some, don't worry. She's dropped everything for me at a moment's notice, not a single complaint. She's an amazing woman. I'm blessed to be married to her. We went to see a friend in Kentucky who actually happens to be she's a marriage counsellor. We see her every now and then just to keep our marriage on track, keep ourselves strong. We have a very tight marriage, thanks to her as well in part. But something threw me through a loop at that point. I'm a real estate photographer. I do photography in general. Somehow, and I cannot pinpoint how this happened, I've relived the weekend over and over, and I just cannot point out when it happened, but she convinced me to become an accredited Christian life coach. That was so far off my radar. It means I've got to go back to school. And at that point, I was still in a crisis of faith. So I came away from that weekend and I had a dilemma. I wanted to do the life coach because I want to help people. I believe my experiences through life, through my kidney disease, I've got a lot to offer to people to help them. But I knew that my faith was in crisis and I couldn't reconcile becoming a Christian life coach. The very next day, I went to dialysis and Asha came and talked to me. And again, another amazing woman. I've been in hemodialysis for 2 years. I was in home therapy a year before that. This woman, every time she's on, she takes the time to come and talk to me. And not just small talk, she comes and actually engages with me and makes my treatment a lot better. And for that, I thank you. It meant so much. It really did. They need more people like you. Thank you. She told me that Marty had just been made pastor of the church. We'd been down the week prior when the other pastor was here. And that's the first time I actually met Marty. And she said that he was here on his own a lot of the time during the day because he's dedicated to the church. And he is. I can see it. You have a fire for God in you. I admire it. I think you're doing a wonderful job. And I hope I can support you a lot more. So being the nice person I am, I decided that I'm going to come down and talk to the guy because I felt sorry for him. I wanted him to have something in his day. So I suddenly find myself after dialysis sitting in front of Marty in his office. Man, this building is big. I didn't know where he was. I heard somebody belting out a tune and it took me about 5 minutes to find him. I finally found him and I was sitting in front of him. And now I'm sitting in front of a pastor and I've got to find something to say. So I started talking about my crisis in faith. He spent an hour with me. At the end of that hour, he had turned me around.
God did it.
Through you. And for that, I am eternally grateful. I wasn't fully there, but you had led me out of the dark and put me back into the light. And I'm teetering on the edge. For the following 2 weeks, 3 weeks, Marty spent time with me on one-on-one Bible study, and he's pulled me closer and closer. And now it starts to get good. Things happened. I'll fast forward to last Friday. Mary Irwin, my godmother, who's right over here, who has stood by me all the way through this crisis, by the way. She's prayed for me, never given up on me, and has always been there for me. She's never had always the answers to my questions, but she's prayed for me. And for that, I'm also grateful. Thank you, Mary. I wouldn't say it was a frantic phone call, but it was a fairly excited and quick phone call. She gave me details about a member of her prayer group that said that one of their family members was on life support and was offering organs. Does anybody want one? I think Mary's response was, kidney please. I think within 15, 20 minutes, I was on a very awkward telephone conversation with the donor's sister. Yes, donor's sister. It was extremely awkward. Obviously they're going through a lot of grief, and I'm going through a lot of hope. We exchanged details about the transplant coordination, which was very hard for her. We were both crying. And then came the important question. I don't know if you know, with kidney donation, there are a number of factors. The main one is blood type. You've got to have a matching blood type. And then there's antibodies and a couple of other things that they test for. It's got to be a compatibility match. The thing is, I'm a rare blood type. I'm A positive. So I'm expecting not a responsive answer. She said, he's an A positive match. That, for a complete stranger, alone, coincidence maybe, but it's rare. They then passed all the stuff to the kidney coordinators, and then it was a waiting game. 24 hours before I heard anything else. And that was the longest 24 hours of my life. 12 o'clock the next day, I got a call from Wake Forest Baptist. If you want a good Christian hospital, that is the place to go. Amazing people. They said, not only is it a match, it is a perfect match. The antibodies,
Hallelujah.
everything. It is the kidney made for me. The donor is 56 years old. I'm 52. Everything. It couldn't have been more perfect. That kidney was made for me. That is just unheard of. It's the probability of that happening is so small. They said, come on in. It's on its way with the courier. My surgery was scheduled for 7 p.m. that night. And it still gets better. I am in pre-op about an hour before surgery. And then a nurse runs a set of antibiotics through my IV line. Now that's a normal state of affairs, you'd think, but it's not. That shouldn't have happened until it was in the OR. Somebody wrote an order that they shouldn't have written. I went into anaphylactic shock. Last September I had a surgery where they gave me a cocktail of fentanyl, Versed, and an antibiotic. I had the same reaction. They thought it was a reaction to fentanyl. So antibiotics never crossed my mind. I immediately, within a few minutes, recognized the signs, got Jody to call the nurse, we stopped the treatment, we caught it just in time. However, it presented like a heart attack. They called all the cardiologists in. When you get anaphylactic shock, you're meant to get like a mottling pattern up your trunk of your body and your arm. That never appeared, not until about 5-10 minutes later. Now, that was actually a good thing. You may think, well, why would anaphylactic shock be a good thing? It's because if they had done that in the OR, they would have stopped the procedure, the kidney would have gone to waste, I would never have got it. I had a guardian angel looking after me. Even the transplant surgeon was boggled by who wrote that order. He didn't know why it happened. It shouldn't have happened, but I'm glad it did. Surgery then was scheduled for 11 p.m. It completed at 3:50 a.m. Not a single thing went wrong in the surgery. It was all routine. Textbook case. They were very happy. 4 hours later, I was awake in ICU, and I was a little bit on happy medication. Some people got some very weird texts that morning. They're going to come back and bite me, I know. That was the last time I took pain medication.
Hallelujah.
After 4 hours of surgery. I remember feeling every hair on my body stand on end. I felt the presence in the room, and I swear I felt something enter my body like the Holy Spirit. And from that point on, I felt no pain whatsoever. I was walking around ICU 12 hours after my surgery. They have never, ever seen that happen before. The average has been about 20 hours, and they've been supporting and helping the people around. I was just freely walking on a walker on my own. And I could have done 4 laps of that place, but they wouldn't let me. They wouldn't let me do one. They were in shock. They kept trying to push Tylenol on me because they couldn't believe I wasn't in pain. I felt nothing. I've got an 8-inch long scar from here down to here with staples in it. I should be in tremendous amount of pain. Nothing. And I feel that it's the Holy Spirit protecting me. And you think my testimony is there, but it doesn't. It keeps going. God has got his fingerprints all over this. At this point, I have gone from being in the dark, crisis of faith, to now I am 100% complete devout believer.
Hallelujah.
I will never, ever question my faith again. I know he exists. I know he's around me.
Amen.
For me, it's just a fact. I felt it. I know it. And I hope everybody else can experience something like that as well. For the rest of the week while I was recovering, I spoke to so many nurses. Not one unbeliever in that hospital that I spoke to. And then I met a dialysis nurse. And then this is God working through me. She told me about an event in her life where she was in a car crash. It was a number of years ago. Her daughter was in the front seat in a seatbelt. She was in the back and her boyfriend was driving. He caused a wreck in the middle of the night. She ended up breaking her neck in the car. Her daughter was heavily injured, obviously with the seatbelt injury, broken ribs, collarbone, the usual. He got away with a scrape on the knee. She has had so much hate and resentment for that man over these years that she's never been able to let go of. God told me to tell her, if he hadn't have been uninjured, he would never have been able to have pulled them free. She was laying there watching the car catch fire. Had he been as injured as she was, they would have all burned alive. The relief in her eyes was incredible. It took a weight off of her mind, and she's now been able to forgive that man and move on with her life.
Praise God.
And that didn't come from me. That was the Holy Spirit talking through me. And I've made so many nurses cry with my testimony. It's just been a very, very healing experience for me. It's been a very confirming experience for me. I'm blessed with a kidney, which has now given me back my life. I've been on dialysis for 3 years. I wouldn't want anybody to go through that at all. It's miserable. I was there from 6 a.m. in the morning through to 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning, 3 days a week. It takes up your life. You can't go anywhere, you can't do anything. Your life is dialysis. And now I've got my life back, thanks to this amazing donor. His name is Brantley. This is where I start to cry. I've been talking to the donor's mother for the past week. I feel like I'm adopted into that family already. He was an amazing man. He helped 15 people through donation of his organs, and that was his last will and testament. And I praise his family for honouring that. It's affected my life. It's affected 14 other people's lives. And I think it's very noble. And I want to carry that legacy on. I plan to do good works with this. And if I can just ask for a moment's silence for George Brantley, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. But that is my testimony. I will just say one more thing, if I may.
Go ahead.
Very quick. Friday morning, we had a cold snap, as you all know. We were coming out of the hotel in Winston, where we're staying, because I've got to have a lot of checks and that, obviously. And I remember my wife complaining about the cold. I step outside and I feel the cold on my face. I hear the birds singing. I see the trees. And I slow my walk down because I start to see the glory of God around us. If you look around where we are, we live in such a beautiful place, but we're all so consumed with what we're doing ourselves on a daily basis, we don't take the time to look around us. If you don't do anything else today, I just ask that you look around and just notice what we're living around. It's so beautiful, and we don't take the time to look at it. Thank you.